just discussing about what is real and nominal GDP. So in nominal GDP, we just value the output based on the current prices, whereas in real GDP, we value the output based on the prices from the previous year. So sometimes, there's a lot of confusion which we can have it as a base year. That actually depends on, the decision of the government, where you can like have in any one of the previous year as a base year, and then you can work out on for your inflation. Here we would just like try to compute both nominal and real GDP with the numbers here. So we're just assuming in the country we just make pizza and latte. Okay, so with an assumption we just like computed in 2005 the GDP was around $6,000. It's just like we're just like computing the total value of pizza and latte, and then we're just summing it up. Okay, so the price into quantity of pizza plus price into quantity of latte. So in 2005 it is $6,000. In 2006 it's $8.250. I mean $8,250, and in 2007 it's around $10,000. Okay, this is just a direct computation. You get the nominal GDP. Okay, you can see there was an increase in the GDP from 2005 to 2006. Increase is 37.5%, and in 2007 it was a 30% increase from the previous year. Okay, which means the economy is growing. Okay, so when you compute the real GDP here, okay, we are taking the base price as $10 for pizza and $2 for latte for in 2005. Okay. Okay, so here the quantity is going to change for each of the years, but the the prices of each of the product is going to remain the same. So so we get 6,000 because we're using the same price list in 2005, but in 2006 we get 7,200, and for 2007 it is 8,400, which is kind of less when compared to the previous nominal GDP. But we can see the increase. That's a 20% increase in the GDP from 2005 to 2006, and there was a 16% GDP increase from 2006 to 7. Okay, so this is the numbers that we got for nominal and real GDP. Okay, when we like see here, the nominal GDP is measured using the current prices, whereas then current prices, whereas the real GDP is calculated using the constant price, a base price. Okay, so here there was a increase in the GDP of 37% and 30%, whereas in the real GDP it's just 20 and 16%. Okay, so here this is like the real GDP numbers are like is adjusted for inflation. Okay. I hope you like able to understand this concept. Okay, when you see the nominal and real GDP in the US from 1965 to 2009, so it's kind of the real GDP is kind of growing. Since it's going, the nominal GDP is also like getting higher, but both kind of meets around 2005, and then real GDP tends to decrease, which means US is having a kind of an inflation recently. When both are increasing, that's fine. But when one is increasing and whether it is not kind of increasing at the same rate, you would say the inflation is kind of getting higher. So maybe you can say the inflation is kind of getting higher in US from 2005 in compared to the previous years. Okay. Next concept is GDP deflator. It's actually a measure of overall level of prices. Okay, to compute this deflator, you have the formula 100 into nominal GDP by real GDP. Okay. So to compute the economic inflation rate is to compute the percentage increase in the GDP deflator from one year to the next. Okay, if this deflator, this value of the GDP deflator is kind of increasing, you can able to find out the inflation rate from one year to the other. Okay, so we have the numbers for nominal and real GDP. So the for 2005 we get 100% because that is the default value. So here we get 8,250 divided by 7,200 because the real GDP number and nominal GDP number is different. Okay, it is 114.6. If we had this 2004 base rate, four numbers as a base rate, maybe this would have been different. Okay, so this will not be 100%. I hope you are able to like get that. Okay, it's about like which year we assume as a base price. Thing changes everything. Okay, in 2007 GDP deflator is 128.6. Okay, so there is an increase in 14%, and later there is an increase in 12%. So this is what I mean. You were able to like get the inflation rate here. Got the inflation rate was 14%, whereas here it was 12%. Okay. So next is like how this GDP is like related to the economic well-being of a you know mm, of a society or country. So this real GDP helps to understand the average person's standard of living when it calculated the per capita. Okay, so if we just like got to know it was around $49,000 per year. So per years it was kind of a good number in 2009 itself when compared to the rest of the countries for US. Okay, but you can't say it's like a perfect measure. Uh, yeah, it's true. So we have Robert Kennedy has like once criticized this GDP with his words as like GDP does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of the education, or the joy for their play. It does not include the beauty of your poetry or the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of a public debate, or the integrity of public officials. It measures neither our courage nor our wisdom nor a devotion to our country. It measures everything, in short, except that which makes life worthwhile. And it can tell us everything about America except why we are proud that we are Americans. Yeah, that's actually a good statement. So yes, it countries completely rely on this, economies rely on this because um, this is the only measure that is available to identify how the country is doing, but it cannot measure how a person is doing or the country is doing as a whole, not in terms of money but in terms of a lot of other things which are very much important. Yeah, quality of education is very important, health of the kids, yes, the strength of marriages. I mean, that's is actually the base of all family values, on which everything is built on, right? So a lot of things, you can't measure with GDP, but still, is the only reliable thing that we have right now. So we have other few things like the quality of the environment can't be measured by GDP. Okay, for it can be working environment or a personal environment or a society. You can measure that with GDP or quality of leisure time that any person have, the number of working hours a person has. That cannot be measured through GDP. The work-life balance cannot be measured through GDP. A child care facilities that a parent is like providing, it cannot be measured. A lot of things can't be measured, but this is the only way that we can like measure progress of a country. With good GDP, we can able to afford better schools. Yes, we can't say how the education system is doing, but we can able to provide better schools, a cleaner environment, and good healthcare for all the kids at old aged and for everybody. Okay, so many indicators of quality of healthcare are positively correlated with GDP, but you can't say with good GDP we have all the quality of life indicators going good. Okay, so we have few things few factors of quality of life mapped with GDP here. You know, so in the x-axis we have real GDP per capita and life expectancy in the y-axis, and the numbers for different economies, different countries been plotted here. So Nigeria has the lowest life expectancy. You know, it was like around 47 years, and the per capita is kind of less. And US, you see the number is kind of a little higher. It was around 78 years, and their GDP is good. Japan, yeah, GDP is good as well as the life expectancy is good. Okay, and literacy when compared with GDP, yes, when the literacy is kind of high, the GDP is kind of high. We can't say whether it's uh, GDP leads to literacy or literacy leads to GDP. It can be both. Okay, Pakistan and Bangladesh at the bottom level, like only 46%, 47% of people can read in Bangladesh. That's very poor, and 50% in Pakistan. It's very poor, you know. And you should see it's like around 98% for Russia, Germany, Japan, and US. That's great, right? I mean, this data is like very, very old. I'm just talking about the very old data, almost like 10 years back. And GDP with internet usage in 12 countries. Guys, please don't rely on this because this was a kind of 10-year-old data. That's what the book has. So I don't have any saying this. But 10 years back, we were very behind here in the internet usage. I'm damn sure we'll be like here skyrocketing with the top economics, at least in this. Yes, that's all for today. So to do a summary, we can just like say we discussed what is the GDP and how a country's total income and expenditure is measured in terms of different components like C, I, G, and NX. We also discussed how what is nominal GDP and real GDP and how it is like measured, and then how you can like correct that based on the inflation using the base year assumption, and also we just like had a criticism view of how GDP is not the main indicator for any society's well-being. Okay, yeah. I think we're pretty much we covered everything for today. You got any questions? You can just let me know.